The tale starts with Maddie visiting the mortuary with her helper Yarnell to bring her deceased father back to town in his coffin. Maddie sends Yarnell off, instructing him to ensure her father is buried in the correct spot, promising to return after handling her father's affairs. Later, Maddie seeks out the sheriff to inquire about the search for Tom Chaney. The sheriff shares that Tom has allied with the notorious gang led by Ned Pepper and fled to Indian Territory, now under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Marshals, who are scarce in that area. Maddie requests to hire a marshal for her mission, and the sheriff presents her with 3 options. Maddie picks the most brutal of them all, Rooster Cogburn, known for seldom bringing criminals back alive. Maddie heads to meet Rooster directly, but struggles to engage in conversation with him. Since he was intoxicated and uncooperative, she ultimately spends the night at the mortuary with 3 bodies. The following day, she goes to a stable to meet the individual who had sold several horses to her father. She expresses her desire to sell the horses back, but the man declines, citing that they have already been sent out. Maddie persists, stating she no longer requires the horses. She also demands $300 for her father's stolen horse, blaming the man for negligence and threatening legal action. They debate until the man agrees to pay her $320 upon receiving a letter from her lawyer. Maddie takes $20 in advance and moves into a hotel, where the landlady offers her some of her father's possessions left behind in his room, including a rifle. That night, she uncomfortably sleeps beside an elderly, snoring woman. The following day, she attends the court session for Rooster, who is accused of using excessive force during his missions. Rooster asserts that he only resorts to lethal means if absolutely necessary. It is evident that Rooster is a pragmatic and ruthless individual, willing to eliminate threats without hesitation or remorse, regardless of who they are. After the hearing, Maddie approaches Rooster and offers to hire him to track down Tom, offering a $50 reward. Rooster is skeptical, advising her to return home before departing. The next day, she is visited by a man who introduces himself as Loff, a Texas Ranger who has been pursuing Tom for some time. Loff explains that Tom is wanted for the murder of a senator, with a substantial bounty placed on his head by the senator's family. Maddie informs Loff that she has already enlisted a seasoned marshal to apprehend Tom. Loff proposes to join their pursuit and return Tom to Texas to claim the reward, but Maddie declines, desiring Tom to face justice in her own county. Later that day, she goes to the stable with her lawyer, who hands over the money as agreed. Maddie purchases a horse for herself before visiting Rooster's abode. She reminds a hungover Rooster of their agreement. Rooster is taken aback by her determination and requests an additional $100, citing the increased danger posed by Tom being part of a dangerous gang now. She consents to handing over the money and inquires about their departure. Rooster expresses his reluctance to have her accompany him, but Maddie argues that she is the one paying and insists on witnessing the job being completed. Recognizing Maddie's unwavering determination, he instructs her to meet him there the following morning. The next day, Maddie dons her father's jacket and hat, excitedly notifying her mother about the upcoming adventure. Upon arriving at Rooster's residence, she discovers that he has already departed, leaving her a letter along with a train ticket, urging her to return home and assuring her that he will capture Tom. However, defying his plea, Maddie heads to the river and solicits help from a man to cross it. The man, who had been directed by Rooster to take her to the sheriff, is met with resistance as Maddie pelts him with an apple, successfully guiding her horse across the river. There, she encounters Rooster along with Loff. She confronts Rooster for taking her money and leaving without her. Her intelligence and bravery provoke Loff, leading him to physically discipline her for standing up to a selfish adult like Rooster. After a short confrontation, Rooster intervenes by threatening Loff with a gun. Throughout the night, the men engage in a series of insults until Maddie steps in. The following day, Maddie questions Rooster about the terms of their partnership in pursuing Tom. Rooster explains that they plan to take Tom to Texas and share the reward. Maddie argues that she paid him to capture Tom for her father's murder, but Rooster remains indifferent. Frustrated, Maddie decides to return and report him. Loff ridicules Rooster for appearing weak in front of a young girl, reigniting their conflict and leading Rooster to dissolve their agreement as they part ways. Eventually, Rooster and Maddie discover a body in a tree. Maddie investigates by climbing closer and confirms that it is not Tom. Rooster instructs her to cut the rope, causing the body to fall. Suddenly, a man appears and takes the body to sell the organs. As they continue riding, Rooster hears a horse approaching and assumes it is Loth following them. They pause to ambush him, but a man in animal skins arrives and reveals himself as a dentist, offering his services. Rooster inquires about a place to seek shelter as snow begins to fall. Following the dentist's guidance, they arrive at a location where Rooster instructs Maddie to block the chimney from the roof with a jacket. After signaling her, Rooster seeks refuge inside the building, but the occupants initially refuse. Maddie follows his cue and blocks the chimney, causing the people inside to cough uncontrollably. This leads to a scuffle where one of the men sustains a gunshot wound in the leg. Rooster seizes the opportunity to gain entry and discovers a spread of food and drinks, prompting him to question if they were expecting guests. He interrogates them about Ned Pepper and Tom, but the man named EMT claims ignorance. Moon, who is younger and injured, becomes fearful when he hears that his leg might need to be amputated before they can get help. Just as Moon tries to speak the truth, EMT viciously attacks him, prompting Rooster to shoot EMT before he succumbs. Moon reveals that Ned and his crew will soon arrive for a celebration. The two men hide and keep watch on the area. Unfortunately, Loth arrives and, before they can warn him, the gang shows up too. They swiftly capture Loth and prepare to harm him, but Rooster starts shooting, taking down 3 gang members. The rest flee, including Ned and Tom. In the chaos, Loth accidentally gets shot in the shoulder by Rooster and bites his tongue badly. They search for a few more days without success. One night, the men resume their argument, blaming each other for their failures and shortcomings. Loth decides to depart, and Rooster insists that he take Maddie as he no longer wishes to continue the search. Maddie refuses to give up when they are near their target, but Rooster speculates that Tom has likely escaped by now. Loth bids a farewell to Maddie and departs for Texas due to his severe injuries and exhaustion. The following morning, Maddie goes to the river and spots some horses in the distance. She recognizes Tom, who also remembers her name and approaches her. As she searches for her gun, she aims it at him, commanding him to surrender and falsely claiming that she is backed by 50 officers on his trail. Despite her young age, Tom underestimates Maddie, and she shoots him. She tries to fire again, but her bullets are depleted. Rooster arrives, but the gang starts shooting, and Tom takes Maddie to Ned. Upon discovering that Maddie only has Rooster as support, Ned instructs Rooster to leave or else he will harm Maddie. Rooster complies, and Maddie is taken to a hill where they abandon her with Tom, warning him not to harm her if he wants to receive payment. After making sure Rooster is gone, they start their journey. Maddie tries to persuade Tom to let her go, promising to make his time during the trial easier. Tom gets furious and attacks her, wanting to kill her too, but Loth intervenes and knocks Tom unconscious. They watch from a distance as Rooster faces Ned's gang in the valley. Rooster manages to defeat everyone and injures Ned, but Ned throws him off his horse, trapping his leg. Ned is about to finish Rooster off, but Loth shoots from afar, saving him. Tom, who has regained consciousness, attacks Loth, knocking him out, but Maddie grabs the rifle and shoots Tom off a cliff. She falls into a pit and gets bitten by a snake. Rooster arrives, rescues her, and sucks out the poison. After bidding farewell to Loth, they leave on Maddie's horse, riding day and night to save her from the poison. Eventually, the horse collapses from exhaustion, and Rooster euthanizes it despite Maddie's objections. She doesn't want to go with him, but he forcefully carries her and takes her to the hospital. The scene shifts to a grown-up Maddie, who lost one arm in the incident. She tells us that Rooster stayed with her until she recovered but left before she woke up. Now, 25 years later, she receives a letter from him inviting her to a traveling show where he performs. However, upon arrival, she learns that he died 3 days ago. The movie ends with Maddie saying that despite being called crazy, she moved Rooster's grave to her family cemetery and often visits him. She never got married and wonders about Loth's fate. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Take care.